Well, hello, and welcome, friends, to the Bradford National Bank podcast studio here in beautiful downtown Highland, Illinois. This is the Highland Dirt Podcast. Let's do this. I'm your host, Kurt Vonder. Haar. How is everybody doing tonight? You doing all right? I'm doing great. We just had some tornadoes go through Highland, so I hope everybody's safe out there. Parts of Highland lost power, but we're here. We're 4 nights into the racing season at world famous Highland Speedway with a big Mars Modified show coming up on Saturday. Hello to all our friends watching out there on social media via Facebook, YouTube, and X. If you have questions for us during the podcast, please put them in the comments, and we'll do our best to get to them. Joining us on the podcast tonight, we got a great show. We got Jacob Blumenstein, my co-host, and our special guest is super late model driver and recent first-time winner at Highland Speedway, Rusty Schlenk. Now, as you guys know, the Highland Dirt Podcast is brought to you by the Jansen Auto Group. Hundreds of vehicles are available right now at gojansen.com. With hundreds of vehicles available with Jansen Ford Breeze, Jansen Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Carmi, and Jansen Chevrolet in Germantown, they have just the vehicle you're looking for. You can search their entire inventory at gojansen.com. That's go, Jansen.com. Jansen Auto Group is proud to support local dirt track racing and world famous Highland Speedway. Well, you might be asking yourself, what is the Highland Dirt Podcast? The Highland Dirt Podcast features dirt racing talk plus news, information, and interviews with some of your favorite people and personalities in and around Highland Speedway. Well, next question, if you're just watching, maybe you don't know about Highland Speedway. What is Highland Speedway? It's a quarter-mile bullring-style dirt track. We're located in Highland, Illinois. We're about 30 minutes east of St. Louis, Missouri, and we've been racing in the dirt on Saturday nights since 1962. We race super late models, modifieds, pro modifieds, street stocks, all under the dirt car banner, and plus micro sprints, 410 wing sprints, extreme outlaw series, 4 cylinders, vintage, kids mods, all in a covered facility with seating for 3,000. Located on the beautiful Madison County Fairgrounds. Did you guys get all that? Did you take notes? Well, now that you know a little bit more about the podcast, you got a brief history lesson on Highland Speedway. Let me introduce my co-host for tonight. He's competing in the Warrior division this year in the number 51. He just picked up a feature win at Highland on Saturday night. He's a dirt racing fanatic, big fan of Highland Speedway. It's Jacob Blumenstein. What's up, Jacob?
What's going on, Kurt?
Man, I'm doing good. You doing all right? You're a couple blocks away. You took you took cover. I was in the basement for a little bit. What about you?
Yeah, we bolted once. We were standing at the back door, just kind of listening. Got real windy. One of our cousins that lives a little north of us said her neighbor's a cop and that there was a tornado around Silver Lake. So we bolted.
Yep. Tornado sirens were going off. But I think everybody's safe. But yeah, we did hear there was maybe a tornado up on the north side of town. So we'll check on that. But Jacob, it was quite the night of racing at Highland on Saturday. Let's chat a little bit about that before we bring our guest on. It was a super late model night, and it was a big crowd.
Yeah, there was a crap ton of people there. That's one of the largest crowds I've seen in a long time.
As far as definitely for a regular show, not a special show, for just an early season show, I mean, that's probably one of the best April crowds we've had in several years.
Yeah, I think everybody's got the itch that the weather's finally broke. The first couple nights were on the chilly side, but it was beautiful Saturday night.
Yep, the weather was just picture perfect, like you said. We had a great car count. We're continuing our run of first time winners. So let's real quick. We'll go over the results, and then we're going to bring our guest on. In the Steve Schmidt Chevy Buick GMC Super Late Model Division, our guest for tonight, Rusty Schlenk, picked up his first feature win, and he put on a show. Man, he was out front, and I think he was pretty much checked out. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I would he probably didn't want to see one. I would have loved to seen a caution with 5 to go, see what Darren had to offer. Usually the leader in those situations, they're not pushing it. I know Darren was. I would have loved to seen a late race caution though.
Yep. And second place, Darren Klein went from 15th to second, so came from the tail, drove it all the way up to second, was putting on a show. So yeah, it would have been neat to see that late race caution. But just running through results, Third place, the Trenton Tornado, Michael Cluse of Trenton. And then in our modified division, Cody Zobrist in the 787 picked up his first feature win in a modified, so that was pretty cool to see. Oh, Jacob, are you still there?
Yeah. Sorry.
Nope, you're
Yeah.
good. And yeah, Cody picked up his first win. He's won before in the pro mod division, but this was his first time winning in the mods.
Yeah, and I know he's got a new to him car. I know he switched chassis in the off season, and looks like it's paying off for him.
Yep, definitely. Second place, finishing strong. He won the two races before, the 87Z, the Z-Man Zeb Moke. And then third place, this guy's been running top 3 all year long too, TJ Eilers from St. Jacob.
Yeah, and I talked to someone in the pits, and someone's like, "We need to talk about how well he worked his way through the field. He passed a lot of cars, and I don't think he's got a tire mark on that thing yet."
Perfectly clean, actually. But we didn't even talk about this before. But yeah, I heard the exact same thing. That yeah, TJ's car, not a scratch on it, and just worked his way through the field. Ended up finishing third, and then in the Bellow Heating and Cooling Pro Mod division, Alex Seigan of St. Jacob picked up his first feature win, so another first-time winner.
Yeah, and I know you were standing there in the pits afterwards. He was pretty pumped up, and I think more people should do donuts after they win. I'm a big fan.
I completely agree. Second place, Cole Knable. Third place, his brother, who just picked up his first win last week, Cole Sagan. And then in our Donawald Distributing Company Street Stock Division, the 9X Trevor Isaac picks up his first win at Highland this year, so back to his winning ways. Second place, Gage Walker. Third place, Matt Koch. And then kids mods. It was pretty cool seeing the kids mods out there. I know we only had 3 of them, but seeing the kids out there and then seeing the 3X Keaton Lyons of Centralia get his first feature win at Highland. I think he won at Peevely a couple of weeks ago, but pretty cool to see his reaction and see all the kids cheering for him.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch much of that. I did see a couple laps, and that kid gets after it.
Yeah, he definitely did. So it was cool to see the kids mods. We'll have the kids mods back on August 3rd. So they'll be back again racing at Highland. I think we'll have a few more on that race. And then in our Warrior division, let's finish up the kids mods. Second place, Bennett Sprawl of Festus, Missouri. Third place, Mason Bruley of Springfield, Illinois. So I always want to give a shout out to the kids that are doing well. And then let's finish up in our Warrior division, picking up his first feature win at Highland this year, the 51, Jacob Blumenstein. Second place, William Gorsuch of Breeze. And third place, finishing up the 6 divisions, was Miguel Velasquez of Marine, Illinois. But not without some controversy in the Warrior feature. Do you want me to talk about it, or do you want to?
I'll let you talk about it. I don't want my name in any controversy. Luckily, I wouldn't say it was given to me. It just kind of fell in my lap. It was kind of a
Yeah.
whirlwind of the night. Get rear-ended in the heat race during a red flag, which I was not happy about. Watching Dad get flipped, then I had a little bit of other stuff going on, and all of a sudden, you send me a text saying I think you won, and that's all I heard for 2 races after that.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah.
I'll let you take over from there.
So we'll just real quick. In the Warrior division, 12 cars showed up. Top 3 finishers all disqualified in post race tech. So that gave the 4th place finisher, Jacob Blumenstein, the feature win on Saturday night. So we won't go too much into that, but it was an exciting night of racing. I think that's really a springboard for what the rest of the summer is going to look like. So big Saturday show with the Mars Modified. It's early in the season, so I think we're going to have a big slate of the Midwest best modifieds at Highland.
Yeah, and I think it helps Tri-City's running Friday night too. But I was looking at all the people that ran Farmer City, and I think most of those guys committed to running the full tour. So some guys like hopefully McKinney comes down, Lucas Lee. I'm excited to see Michael Long again. We chatted about this. It's not going to be a big modified race at Highland if Harrison's not there. So hopefully he's back in the seat.
Agreed.
And our local guys, they're going to give the big guys fits too. So I'm excited about it.
Yep, 29 modifieds at our August show for Mars, so I think we can match that. Excited to see that. Pit gates open at 2:30, grandstands at 4:30. We have some campers I know that's coming. Weather's looking good, so we should have another big crowd on hand. Well, Jacob, how about we bring our guest on for tonight? We've been having him wait for a few minutes here. He's always a contender when he rolls into the pits anywhere he goes. He drives a very distinct pink number 91, Domination, race car super late model. And Saturday, he picked up his very first feature win at Highland. Straight from McClure, Ohio, it's Rusty Schlenk. What's up, Rusty?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Going good, man. So you had a good race at Highland on Saturday. So thanks for making the trek down. How far of a drive is it for you to come to Highland?
Oh, about 6.5 hours. Not too terrible.
Not too terrible for a race car driver. Racers like to race, and you put on a show on Saturday, so that was fun to watch. You were throwing it. I mean, I was sitting in the box seats with some people who had never been to Highland before, and the lady next to me was clutching her pearls. I mean, she was as the late models were going around, as you were flinging it, as Darren was trying to catch you. But yeah, it was a great race. But I like to talk about. Let's start off just talking about origin stories. Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of maybe how you got your start in racing.
Just been doing it my whole life. It's about the same as every other racer in this world. We were born into it, and we've been doing it our whole life. I started racing quarter midgets when I was 6, and got into a full size car. I've been running a late model since I was 13. So just another day at the office for me.
Wow. Do you remember your first race in a late
I
model?
I do. I remember a lot of my firsts. I remember my first race in a quarter midget when I was 6. So
You have one of those memories, huh?
what's that?
You have one of those memories where you remember all those details.
Yeah, if it involves racing, it's usually stuck in my brain. I can't remember what I had for dinner last night or what my anniversary is half the time, but if it involves racing, it doesn't leave my brain.
So at 13 in a late model, were you scared? Were you nervous?
No, heck no, no. We'd raced. I'd ran sportsman before that. When I was
Okay.
12, I had a sportsman car, which is similar to a late model. Before the year before that, when I was 11, I was in a street stock. I've been in a race car my whole life, so it doesn't. I don't get too nervous about much.
No, we can tell by your style of driving. I mean, you were flinging it around the bull ring in Highland. Did your dad race? Did you have family members that raced?
My dad raced a little bit. I think he only raced a handful of times. He claims he wasn't any good at it and that he ran into everything. So I don't. I was pretty young. I don't remember him racing. He raced a street stock and a modified, I believe, when I was a couple years old. But he claims he wasn't any good at it. But I don't know. I never got to see full firsthand, and he got me into it, and we started winning races, and now I'm poor and broke and raced my whole life.
And building race cars. Do you keep track of how many feature wins you've had?
I have some friends that keep track. I know about where I'm at. I'd have to phone a friend to get the exact number, but I'm somewhere I
Ballpark.
think between. Yeah, I'm 270 to 280 ish. We're somewhere in that range right now, in super late model wins anyway.
Wow, it's pretty impressive. Did you play any other sports growing up besides doing racing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, football. I pretty much did a little bit of everything. I'm competitive, so we
Yeah.
played football, played basketball, I bowled, I played. I ran track. I've done a little bit of everything.
So did kind of all that all the way through high school.
Yeah. Racing was number one priority, but I missed a lot of sporting events in school functions for racing. Obviously, I didn't even go to my own graduation. I've never technically even graduated from high school because I had a points race that night. So
So you did not walk across the stage at
I did
graduation
not
day.
walk for my high. Nope. I showed up a couple weeks later and grabbed my diploma and haven't seen it since.
That's pretty funny. Well, I think Jacob pointed something out when him and I were talking earlier today. I think he's gonna throw the next question at you.
Yeah, you helped CJ Rayburn build cars at one point. How did that come about?
I mean, I technically never really helped him build the cars. I did a lot of R&D for him. He built everything. He built everything out of his shop pretty much. I just did a lot of the R&D work, and I brought the cars back home here and changed some things up. CJ was kind of hard and stubborn, and everybody that's ever dealt with CJ kind of knows how he was, and he didn't want to change anything. So I'd bring things home, change them up a little bit, and then I took the cars back down to CJ's once I got them where I wanted them, and they rejigged them for me and copied them and built them to my specs. So um, I definitely the last since about 2016, end of 2016, I think we started talking to CJ again, got back in his cars. I ran Rayburns my whole life pretty much up until 2010, and CJ and I butted heads and kind of split ways, and then I drove for Pierce and Rocket and Laser, and I had a whole bunch of I was in a lot of different race cars, and then CJ ended up calling me back and told me he wanted one last hoorah. He said, come down here and get a car. And he said, I said, I want one last hoorah. I want to go out on top. I want people to know I can still win races. So we went down there and picked up a car. And the very first weekend on it, we went to the, Mansfield. When Mansfield was opened up, they had that Triple Crown deal. We went over there and won $5,000 the very first night in the car. So, CJ went out on top like he wanted to do, and got him a national championship there right before he passed away, and he went out happy.
What are some of the things you learned from CJ?
Oh man, I've learned everything from that man. He's if he didn't teach it to me by telling me, he taught me the hard way. He was one that would let you learn things on your own and kind of throw some riddles at you and make you figure it out the hard way. But pretty much everything about a race car I've learned from that guy, from setting front end to the rear end to driving them and running a business. Even when he decided he was going to close the doors, and I decided I was going to start building cars, he gave me a lot of tips and really supported me and getting my business up and rolling too.
Do you have a good story you could share about it?
Oh God, I'd be here all night. You guys don't have enough. You don't have enough time for that. Yeah, man, I don't even know where to begin with CJ stories. I've got so many.
Do you remember like the first time that you met him? What was the first time that you met him? How did you make the connection that where he?
Well, the first time I met him, it was just I pretty much just met him because I had won a championship at Oakshade. They were giving away a chassis at Oakshade back in the day when my very first championship in 2004. They sponsored CJ sponsored a chassis to the winner of the points that year, so we had to go down there and pick up a car, and that's how I met him. And then I'd won a couple chassis from the American Late Model Series up in like 2006. So I was winning free chassis, and then CJ was helping me put them together, kind of sponsoring me some of the parts to put them together for fairly cheap. So that's kind of what got us started in the CJ deal. But probably my favorite story. I don't want to say favorite, but as far as to show what kind of person CJ was. When you would call, people would call down there, and he'd give them a hard time, tell them to go to the hot dog stand. There wasn't ever anything wrong with the race car. It was always them. You just had to drive it different, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're sitting there on the couch one day, and somebody calls up CJ, and we can hear the conversation is on speakerphone. They said, CJ, I got this new car from you. This thing ain't working. I don't know what the heck to do. What do I need to do to fix it? CJ said, well, is it tight or is it loose? You got to tell me what's wrong with it. The guy says, man, I don't really know. It's just, it's not comfortable. It's not fast. I don't know what to do to this thing. Can you help me? And CJ says, I tell you what. He says, do you race Friday? Guy says, yeah, we race. I forget what racetrack it was. Yeah, we raced down in Kentucky somewhere. And he says, all right, well, call me after hot laps. He said, drive down. What I want you to do is go on the track. When they give the green flag, hold your foot on the floorboard, and then call me after hot laps and let me know which end hit the wall first. So that was CJ's way of telling him, if you can't tell me if the thing's loose or if it's tight, then he'd kind of make you feel like an idiot a little bit. So he would definitely teach you the hard way.
Time to drive the car, son, is basically what he's saying. Right? Well, let me preface this question, Rusty, by saying this is a compliment. You're very outspoken in the dirt racing community. Do you ever regret putting all your feelings out there for everyone to see?
Hell no. It's the way I look at it. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for a lot of people helping me. for a lot of the breaks I've kind of had along the way and the support. So the way I look at it, if I say something they don't like, or if I'm putting my feelings out there, or telling people how it is, they don't need to follow me. They don't need to support me. Whatever. I've got a whole lot of people out there that have my back, and I feel like I've always done good for the sport. I've always tried to help people. I try to give back to the sport because I've had so much given to me, and I feel like I've got I got a pretty big platform out there. I got a lot of followers and a lot of friends and kids and people that look up to me. That I try to use my platform to try to do a little bit of good in the world, whether it's racing or just man. Even I hate to say it, but nowadays even I feel like politics kind of runs into every part of our life. So. I don't like the direction some of our world's heading, and if I can use a little bit of my platform to try to get some humor out there and keep some of the younger kids on the right path, I feel like I'm even if I ruffle some feathers, I feel like I'm doing my job.
Yep. Amen to that. Well, you've had some thoughts on the recent developments, like the tire situation in Volusia. What did you think about what was going on there?
Man, I don't know exactly. I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to say exactly what went on because I don't know. I can tell you one thing though. I've been around the sport a long time. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that people are doing and have done, and a lot and people that have been busted are repeat offenders. Do I think everybody's innocent? Probably not. I don't see it as a coincidence. I can tell you right now that the Brian Carter would not suspend three of his top named drivers that put butts in the seats. That's not something that he wanted to do. If he didn't have some concrete evidence or know for sure that something was going on, I don't see how that was a good move on his part at all. And I don't see him pulling the trigger and making that decision. If something, do I think that they blatantly doped a tire? Probably not. Do I think there's some other things that go on in the sport that maybe come from Hoosier or come from a little bit behind the scenes? Yeah, I've been part of it. I've seen it behind the scenes. So I definitely think something happened. I don't know what, and I'm not going to speculate. But all I know is Brian Carter or the owner of any series, for that matter, is not going to stick their neck out there and kick out Bobby Pierce and Devin Moran and Kyle Bronson and people like that they know the backlash and the lack of support they're going to get for kicking those guys out.
Yep. And I think when Brian Carter got up in front of him and told him to F around and find out, right? So
right.
He gave him a warning. But inventory control. If you don't have tight inventory control on what you've got in your trailer and in your shop, if you return stuff, or maybe you got a tire. Again, there's so many rabbit holes I think to go down. But you're right. He wouldn't make that suspension unless he felt he had concrete evidence, and he gave him fair warning. And that's the way. That's what happens when you roll the dice. But
yeah, and what's that?
Yep, go ahead. Finish your
I was just gonna say, and I don't want to, like, I made some posts on Facebook about it, and I took a lot of backlash for hating on Bobby and hating on Devin and hating on Kyle. That is not it. Like, I never pointed fingers. I never said they did it. I never. All three of those guys are wheelmen. They're going to win whether they cheated or not. I don't think like I said, I don't think they probably blatantly outright went and doped their tires and you know what I mean, did anything that they thought was going to get them caught. Do I think maybe they cleaned a tire with something that they thought they could get away with? Possibly. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what it is, but they're all badass race car drivers. They're all going to win, whether they failed that test or not. The outcome was not going to be any different. Bobby can win anywhere he goes on clean tires. They're all awesome drivers. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I also don't believe that out of all the tire tests down there that they just randomly decided they were going to DQ three people to make a point out of something. I really feel like something happened. There was definitely some evidence that something happened, because Brian Carter is not just going to pull the plug on those three guys without concrete evidence.
Yep. What'd you think about the appeal process? I mean, did that kind of come out? That kind of came out a little bit out of nowhere. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, there's an appeal process, and
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting that.
yeah,
Like I said, I don't. Brian Carter didn't want to kick them out, right? Brian Carter does not want Devin Moran and Bobby Pierce not at their races. He wants them there. You know what I mean? Like, I figured something was going to happen. I figured there's going to be some appeals. I figured there's going to be some stuff swept under the rug and some forgiveness given there, just because how bad it's going to hurt not having those guys at the racetrack. Whether it's right or wrong, I kind of knew that was going to go down. But people know that he's serious now. You know what I mean? I do know now that everybody knows, like, well, Brian ain't messing around. If we better stop that. So I think there's some good that's going to come out of it. I hope to God all three of them were wrong, and then the appeals process was, you know what I mean? I hope it comes back and they're all clean. But I really, for the sport, I really hope that. I think Bobby's a hell of a competitor, and Devin, and I respect those guys. I all three of them. I call them friends. You know what I mean? I text those guys all the time. Like I'm friends with all three of those guys. I literally communicate with all three of them at some point every year. I consider them all friends. I consider them all awesome competitors, and I respect the hell out of all of them. So yeah, I do hope that something happened and there was a mistake, but I don't know. That's all I got to say about it.
yeah. Well, and like you said, there was an appeal process. You know, it's not gonna. It ends up Bobby's gonna be back on the tour. He did make an announcement. He was off the tour, right? And then after the appeal, he's back on the tour. I mean, the way he's driving, it's not going to take him long, I don't think, to
Well,
get his way back up there.
and I said that a couple weeks ago. If with Bobby being back on, I think Bobby will still win the points. He is on top of his game right now, and I think he can come back from. I think he can come back from a pretty serious point disadvantage to win at this point, because he's in his own league and they've got their shit figured out. So I really feel like he's on a mission to prove a point, and I don't blame him. I mean, if I got busted tire doping and or doing whatever happened, I would come back with vengeance also and try to prove a point. So no, more power to him. I kind of hope he comes back and has clean tires all year long and kicks everybody's butt. I mean, it'll make a good story at the end of the year.
Yep. While you're on your soapbox, pick one other thing you think that needs to be improved in dirt racing and super late model racing.
Everything. Our damn rules. I don't know. Doing it the way I do it and the way I've always done it. The rules packages have got so far out of hand. It makes it really hard for the little guy. I really and building race cars, like I can kind of see. I can see the behind the scenes stuff that goes on that most people can't see. For instance, I can build two race cars. I can build a complete late model roller out of here for $26,000, or I can build a complete late model roller out of here for $45,000 or $46,000. Same race car. I mean, they can go out and run similar lap times. The problem is the upper echelon of the sport has got so crazy. Everybody wants the shiny shit. Everybody wants what Rocket and Longhorn has, and it's running the little guy out of the sport. The rules have just got too far gone. Our shock packages. When I started racing, man, I could put a shock package on my car. My first national championship in 2010, I had 4 old steel body Bilsteins non-adjustable. I had $800 in my shock package in 2010, 13 years ago. You know what I mean? And now we're $5,600 on the low end for a shock package. The rules need to get tamed down a little bit to be able to let the little guy race again. Even in the crate series, man, it costs more to build a crate than it does to build a super nowadays, because they let you put lightweight rear ends in them and low drag this and low drag that, and everybody wants the fancy high. It costs $2,000 more for a crate rear end than it does a super. It's just there's a lot wrong in the world.
So Rusty, tell us a little bit more about Domination race cars.
It's just, I mean, I tried taking over where CJ left off. I've always kind of built my own things. I've every car I've ever drove, I've brought it home and changed things that I wanted to change on it and kind of made it my own. So I've been fabricating since I was 12 years old and doing chassis work and body work on the side to make money to help support my racing since I was little. So I knew at some point I wanted to build cars. I don't think I was quite ready financially or time wise to jump in and start a chassis business. But with CJ going out, I knew I was either going to have to jump ship and go race for somebody else again, or and sell cars, sell rockets or Longhorns or something else, or do it myself. And like I've always been an advocate of the little guy. I don't want to sell $50,000 Longhorns or $50,000 rockets. More power to those guys. Like they build an awesome race car, and I respect the shit out of both of them. But I want to be able to build a $30,000 race car that can go out there and beat those cars or run competitively with it and give the little guy a chance. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I do. I can build them on a lot smaller level. I've got more personal. I can talk to all my drivers. I can keep up with them every week. They all call me, or I call them, and we can talk about the cars. I don't want to be a big company. I want to cater to the little guy. So that's why we're doing what we do.
What's the goal for Domination race cars?
Win races. I just want to. I want to be able to when I'm done racing. I want to be able to help my kids and have something to fall back on. I don't. You see so many race car drivers that don't do anything with their lives other than be race car drivers. You know what I mean? So when they're old and washed up, they don't. They have nothing to do. They're scraping to make money and trying to figure out what the hell to do with the rest of their lives. So my goal is to just be able to build a business and be able to have this similar to what Bob Pierce did. You know what I mean? He lived the rest of his life when he quit racing on building race cars, and he didn't do it on a huge scale, but he did enough to support him and his kid and put a little bit away for retirement.
Are you trying to keep it more of a regional thing, or do you ever want to get a car on the national series?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd like to have a car on the national series. I don't know if I want that. Honestly, if there's a car in the national series, it's probably going to be me or my kid or my stepson someday. I don't see it. I don't see a JD or an Overton or you know what I mean. I don't see one of those guys jumping in my stuff just because I don't have enough of them out there. I don't have the support to really run at the level that they do. In order to run like they do, that you've got to have 50 cars out there doing the same thing and have 50 people to bounce ideas off of and to really develop your stuff. So I want to cater to the local regional guy. I feel like I can build a race car at the local level and that can keep my local and regional guys happy. So when the big guys roll into town, we can race with them. And that's my goal. I just want to build a car that can keep up with those guys when they come into our neck of the woods.
Is your family involved with the business?
Oh yeah, yes. It's just me and my crew guy Dusty. We're the only two in the shop. My kids help out a little bit, and then my wife, she's out here every day doing the billing and trying to teach her how to put race cars together. But she's learning.
And I see one of your sons is running a car.
Yeah, my son races. He's been racing a Sportsman at Oakshade, but he's moving up to a Super this year. I'm going to put him in a Super late model. And then my stepson, he's raced for the last few years in a Super. He got his dad and him raced together for the last I don't know 5-6 years, whatever he's been racing. But Colin's graduating, my stepson's graduating this year and going off to college. So him and his dad kind of dissolved the team and wanted him to focus on school and kind of focus their money towards that. But Colin ended up getting a ride with a local guy here in town that actually owns one of my cars already. So it worked out pretty good for him. He's still in a Domination car and he's still going to run at least locally around here every week to keep him behind the wheel.
That's great. What you had a Domination car here at Highland, right?
Yeah. Todd Regg runs one of my Domination cars. He actually has the very first car that I ever built when I started Domination race cars. He has the prototype car.
Oh wow, that's great. So McClure, Ohio, looks like about 700 people live there. What's life like in McClure?
Man, I don't know if 700 people live here anymore.
That's what it says on Google. It must be true, right?
It might say that on Google. I don't think they paid attention to all the old people that have died recently. Yeah, it's just a little town. It's not much. We don't have we used to have a restaurant. We used to have a bank. We used to have a bar. We don't have any of it anymore. We have a gas station and we don't even have a stoplight. So, about the most exciting thing that happens here is Domination race cars.
Do you have Casey's up there?
Oh, hell no. I wish we did.
No Casey's.
No, we got a marathon on the corner and, that's all we've got in our town.
So how far do you have to drive? Is there a grocery store? How far do you have to go for all?
We're 15 minutes from a Walmart both directions.
Okay. Is there a bigger town that's close to your area?
Bowling Green, Ohio is the closest big town to us. Yeah.
Gotcha. So what about dirt racing around that area? Is it dirt car, UMP? What kind of sanctioning body?
Yeah, we got our home track is Oakshade. They're about 40 minutes up the road from us. That's where I grew up racing. When I grew up in Michigan, in Jackson, so I was about an hour north of the track when I grew up, and we moved 40 minutes south of the track. So I've been within an hour of it my whole life. That's my home track on Saturday, and then Oakshade or Attica is our Friday night track. They're about an hour and 20 minutes from us.
Okay, Attica and Oakshade. What about like sprint cars? Do they run sprint cars around that area, or is it mostly?
Attica's a sprint car track. We're a field filler. It's we're a support class at Attica. They run 410 sprints and 305s every week, and then late models. We're just kind of there to be there. At Oakshade, the late models are primary class. It's just late model sportsmen, bombers, and 4-cylinders is what they run over there.
Okay. Have you ever run a sprint car before or open?
I have not. When I got married, I had 2 rules: no sprint cars and no strip clubs. I'm okay with the strip club rule, but I'm still working on the sprint car rule.
Oh, that's great. So you sound like you run those 2 tracks Friday, Saturday, and then you do some traveling a little bit. You run some summer nationals races. What else?
Yeah, I'm going to run the Ironman deal this year. I ran the ALMS series pretty much every year when it was around here, and they're starting it back up this year. They teamed up with Ironman, so I'll probably run that whole deal because it's all within 3-4 hours of me. Other than that, I run some of the bigger shows up in Michigan, and I try to hit some of the regional or national level races when they come in our area. And other than that, I just stay here local. And at the beginning of the year, I like to run out towards your guys' way. I like Highland, Belleville, Tri-City, Peevely. I mean, all them. Those are tracks I kind of grew up racing in the spring and the fall before we got rolling around here. I've always loved coming out there racing. They're kind of those are my cup of tea. I love the little bull rings. So we just kind of do whatever we want.
Yeah, no, it was cool. You kind of surprised us last year when you showed up on the first super late model night. You were the first one there. We're like, oh crap, Rusty Schlenk's here. Let's go. So yeah.
Yeah, you never know. You never know where I'm going to show up.
Oh, nope, that's great. So yeah, and what about Summer Nationals? You think you'll make it to Highland for Summer Nationals, June 29th?
I would like to. I mean, we kind of set our goal to run the Hell Tour every year.
Yep.
I've only ran the whole thing twice. I've tried it 3 times. I've only succeeded twice. We go into it every year with kind of the idea of we want to run at least 1 or 2 full weeks of it, and depending on our sponsorship, where our sponsorship's at the time, and kind of how our budget's going and how we're running, we may run the whole thing. We may pick and choose kind of our favorite tracks, our favorite weeks to race. So you may see us on the whole Hell Tour. You may see us for a week or 2. It just kind of depends.
Yep. And then we got a question from the comments. One of our guys wants to know, are you going to come race World of Outlaws at Highland in August 14th?
I don't know. I highly doubt it. I don't go to too much World of Outlaw and Lucas Oil stuff. I just it's hard for me to justify going and running those races. Don't get me wrong. When I do run them, we run okay. Like I'd probably come out there to Highland and run 12th, 10th, 12th. You know what I mean? We'd be a decent car. I'd be competitive, but it's to go to those shows. It costs me so much money in tires and fuel and pit passes, and I can go run 12th and make $1,200, but I got 2,000 wrapped up in just, you know what I mean, in tires and trying to keep up with those guys. So I don't do too much of it. The only time you'll see me at one of those races is if a sponsor calls up and goes, "Hey man, I got $2 or $3 grand for you to go run the Hell Tour or the World of Outlaw or Lucas Oil race." That's really the only way I can justify running those big races, because it costs me too much. Like we went to Highland last weekend and won whatever $1,500 or whatever it was to win. I didn't have much wrapped up in it because we ran on used tires. I didn't have to bolt new tires to the car. You know what I mean? It's just a lot cheaper to go run a local race and make the same amount of money as I'm going to go run 12th to 10th to 12th at a World of Outlaw race. It doesn't pay anymore. You know what I mean?
Yep, no, that completely makes sense. No, late model racing ain't cheap, that's for sure. But I think modified racing is something you're into too. I think Jacob's going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I seen you ran a modified a little bit towards the end of last year. What's your plans with that this coming year?
I've got to get mine put back together. So the whole deal with that modified was I've had customers wanting me to build mods and want me to build IMCA cars and want me to build UMP cars, and I built a couple UMP mods for some close friends of mine. I'd only built a couple. They were pretty much just a copy of my late model with the stock front clip on it. I didn't. It wasn't a specifically built modified. So I wanted to, in order to really build one and develop it and do it the way I wanted to do it, I needed to be in one. I've never raced a mod, so I built my own. I sat down last year, and it took me 6 months to build the thing. I cut it apart and re-welded and changed things, and I built a specific modified chassis that was a complete whole new jig, completely separate from my late model jig. So, and then I needed to be in the thing. I needed to develop it myself the same way I did my late models. If I don't drive the thing, it's hard to get things where I want it to be able to come up with a nice package for my customers. So that's how we came up with the modified deal. Then I brought it home and stripped it all back down, ran it 3 times, stripped it all back down to the bare bones, and finished up my jig. And I got it all in parts right now, trying to get I'm trying to get all my customer stuff caught up. I got a few more to build, and then once I'm caught up here, I'm going to put mine back together and do some more testing this summer, and hopefully put her back in victory lane a few more times.
So is Chad Bauer kind of your other R&D guy? Because I know both the brothers are in your cars.
Well, Chad and Cody are actually father and son. Chad is the dad.
Okay.
Yep, and Cody is the son. Cody runs the late model, and Chad, his father, runs the modified. But yeah, Chad had my first modified. He went up and he was kind of my prototype guy. He was my R&D guy. He went up and won a bunch of races with that first mod I built up in Michigan, and won 3 or 4 championships that year up in Michigan and at Merritt and kind of around Michigan, Butler, Hartford, some of those tracks. So he's been huge to help letting me develop this modified deal. He actually has my first IMCA car. We just finished up his IMCA car. So I think he's gonna debut that this weekend up in Michigan. So hopefully we can start selling some IMCA stuff too.
Well, that pretty much just answered my next question.
Yep. Who are maybe some drivers, Rusty, that you really looked up to earlier in your career?
What was that? I couldn't quite hear you.
Yep. No, who were some drivers that you looked up to kind of as you were coming up in your career?
Man, my hero back in the day, I had a couple local heroes. Tim Wilbur raced at Butler. Maybe my biggest influence back in the day, the guy I really looked up to was Chris Patterson. I'm sure everybody's probably heard of Chris. He ran he won everything around here locally, but he did a little bit of traveling and ran some bigger shows, ran the World 100 and Dream down to Eldora, ran some World of Outlaw stuff. He was really the one I looked up to, and I kind of grew up like when I was getting into late model racing, he was just getting out of it, so I got to race with him quite a bit, and he was probably my biggest influence as a kid.
Was there any drivers whose kind of style you wanted to emulate? Like, was there a guy you were like, man, I want to drive like him?
Not really. I mean, I feel like I kind of I feel like I kind of developed my driving style around everybody. You know what I mean? I pick and choose what I like from different drivers. I mean, there's times you got to be smooth like Billy Moyer, and there's times you got to get up on the wheel and you know what I mean, really do some work up on the cushion. And I don't know. I just kind of I didn't watch a ton of late model racing back in the day, other than local stuff, because I mean, it wasn't on TV. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I didn't. The kids nowadays can kind of, oh man, I want to be like Bobby Pierce. I want to be like Rusty Schlenk or Jason Fager, because they get to watch us every week. I didn't have that back then. If you caught a Stars race or a Have a Tampa race on ESPN or something back in the day, man, it was like Christmas. So I don't. I just kind of had to do my own thing.
What are some, you mentioned that, you have some of those drivers that we talked about with the tires that you're friends with. I know you guys compete on a weekly, week to week basis. You're very competitive. Are there a few drivers that you're pretty good friends with?
Man, I try to be friends with everybody. We've all got to strap in and race with each other every week. So um, you've really got to piss me off and to make me hate you for the rest of my life. I mean, good example. I'm real good buddies with Darren Klein. Have been for years. Me and Darren have always been good friends, and I jumped on his $500 carbon fiber hood last year because he pissed me off, and I wanted to rip him out of his race car. But I texted him the next day and joked about it, and uh, I think my exact words were we're still going to be friends at the end of the day. But if you drive me like that again, I'm not afraid to punch my friend in the face. So
Well,
no,
this is
it's
the you're the
go ahead.
second guest. You're the second guest now. We had Zach Dom, the open wheel guy, on a couple weeks ago, and he said, sometimes people might need a punch in the mouth. But I think what was really cool. I mean, I think the week after the incident last year, so we're going to play the video. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit. We'll play it and talk about it. But you wrote on the front of your nose on the next nose cone, I think Klein's Scratch and Dent Center or something like that.
Yeah. I got sick of people asking me why there wasn't a decal on the front of my car for the whole next week. We didn't have time to get a wrap put on it after he ripped the decals off from his failed slide job. So I got sick of people asking what happened to it. So I figured he ripped it off. So I figured I'd give him some PR, try and sell him some refrigerators.
That was great. And then, yeah, when you showed up Saturday night here last Saturday, who did you park right next to? Your buddy.
Parked right next to
Darren
Darren.
Klein. Yeah, so that was great. You know what? I think a lot of drivers and some at Highland could take a good lesson from you. And it's not all personal. It doesn't all have to be. It doesn't have to leave the track. You can still be friends afterwards.
I mean, when I grew up, it wasn't. We didn't have all the sissies that we have nowadays. I mean, if you messed up back in the day, when I first started racing, if you messed up, you expected somebody to come down and punch you in the face. Like that's how you learned. I mean, when we uh, when we got caught stealing candy at the gas station, we come home and our mom was going to whoop our ass. So like you knew there was consequences. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah, you got to
I feel like that.
take the bump and move on.
Yeah, we need a little bit more. If we had some more of that in the sport, we'd have a little bit more respect on the racetrack. And like I tell everybody, if I mess up, you know what I mean. If I deserve it, you want to come down and yell at me and scream at me and fight it out. I mean, that I'm okay with it. If I deserve it, I'll take a whooping. That's just what. That's how I grew up. I mean, you watch hockey people do it all the time. You watch hockey fights all the time and get mad at each other and they'll be friends the next week. You know what I mean? They're just that's the sport. It's a heated sport. We're all fierce competitors. I mean, our blood boils, and we put our blood, sweat, and tear in these things. And when somebody junks what we've worked on for the whole week or our whole life, you know what I mean? It'll piss you off. So, but
For
at the end of the
some,
day, we got to wipe it off and be friends the next week.
yeah, but for some drivers, all it takes is one little man getting into the side one time, and they're flipping you off, they're driving off, they're mad at you in the pits, and it's like, man, everybody, let's take a chill, let's appreciate, let's have fun. Like I think I was showing Sean Horseman My buddy that runs the track at Highland always says, he's like, we're out there to have fun. Like, we're fortunate to be out here doing this.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. You really got to do something stupid to get me too mad. I mean, if we places like Highland, especially if you're bumping and rubbing and banging, as long as you're not costing somebody the race or costing them money and junking their shit every week, you're gonna bump, you're gonna rub, you're gonna scrape. But as long as you're not wrecking them or taking them out of the race, or it's gonna happen. So yeah, people need to cool down a little bit for sure.
Yep.
So Rusty, how tough is it handling the chassis business and racing as much as you do? How do you decide where you're going to put your time?
Oh, well, I don't decide. I just roll with the flow and somehow try to make time for everything. Doing what I do has got to be one of the most stressful things. I don't know how Rocket and Longhorn, like it, Mark Richards is, I don't know how he does it with so many drivers out there. I kind of know why he is the way he is, because you get to Mark's kind of shut off and he doesn't talk to a lot of people, and he won't talk to a lot of people at the racetrack, and it's hard to get answers from him unless you're in his little clique. And I kind of understand why he's like that, because I mean, I've got 40, I'm on my 44th race car that I've built. So I don't have a ton of customers out there, but it's hard to make time for everybody. That's why I don't really want to get to the level that he's at. I want to be able to keep it personal with all my drivers. I want to be able to run my own car and not have to worry about, not have to worry about answering the phone all day long, so I can keep a little bit of time for the family. But I mean, I'm out here 14, 16 hours a day in the shop. Thank God I've got an awesome car owner that he's pretty much the last few years taken over the blunt of the work. He does all the maintenance every week. He doesn't even really need me on my personal car anymore, unless it's something major that he can't do. But he's, for the most part, he's came a long way from the when we started working together. He didn't know much about a race car. He just wanted to be a car owner. It just jumped into it and didn't really know much. So he's really, over the last 5 or 6 years, he's came a long way where he can do just about everything for me. So I just pretty much got to show up and drive now. So that's pretty helpful. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to do the chassis stuff as in depth as what I am with my customers lately. Because I'd have to spend a lot more time on my personal car.
Yeah, I seen your Facebook post that on Easter Sunday you spent 18 hours in the shop and felt guilty about going inside to hang with the family.
Yeah, that's just how it is, man. When you own a business, I don't care if it's a race shop or a car repair or whatever it may be. When you got customers' cars sitting outside that need work done, and they're wanting to go racing, it's race season. They're all kind of expecting you to have their stuff done. So when you're not out there working on it, you kind of feel guilty. And race car drivers aren't they're not the most patient people in the world. So if you if they don't have their car in a timely manner, they get upset. So it makes you feel bad. You don't want to see anybody. Like I said, most of my customers are really close friends, so I try to make sure I want to keep them all happy. I want to keep them all on the racetrack. I don't like making anybody wait for anything. So I mean, it's definitely stressful. I work way more than I should. We're out here in the shop. Dusty and I are out here, and my wife, and I mean, we make a lot of sacrifices to keep these race cars going, and hopefully in a few years we'll have it built up enough where I can have a couple employees, and we can do a 9 to 5 and shut the doors and not worry about it. But for now, we got to do it all ourselves.
Do you have something you use to get away from racing, or are you pretty much racing 24/7? It's all you think about, keeps you up at night?
If my wife doesn't let me go out to dinner to eat that night, I don't usually get out of the shop too much. So no, we try to go golfing during race season. We try to go golfing on Sundays. I try to take at least one day to have somewhat of a family day. We hang out at the park with the kids and the dogs, and maybe go to golfing or whatever, and they come with me. But even then, I seem like I spend half the day, whatever we're doing with the family or golfing or whatever it may be, and then I come home and still put a couple hours in the garage. But I try to get at least one day a week.
Well, it kind of paid off for you last year, Rusty. You won a big race up there called the Wood Tick.
Yep.
Yep, and that's a big deal. So tell us what that race is about and kind of what it meant for you to win that.
Oh, that's I mean that's kind of one of my favorite races every year. I think that was actually the third time we'd won that race. It used to only pay, man, back in the day. I think the first time I won it, it was only 10,000. And then the second time we won it, it was 33, and then last year it was 35,000 to win. But that memorial race it was the Ed Van Dyne Memorial. It still is, but they kind of turned it into the Dan Soleil Memorial, which he was one of my ex-girlfriend's fathers. For my first shoot, I dated her for, I don't know, what was it, 7 years or something like that. So he was a pretty big part of my life for quite a while. Dan Soleil was. He crewed for me, and I mean, we spent a lot of time together. So it's always good to be able to go up there and win that race. I've got a couple big checks on the wall here from the Dan Soleil Memorial. So it's kind of special to be able to go up there and win that. It's definitely something that I'm sure he looks down and is glad we could do. So.
Yeah. So what are some other of your favorite racetracks to go to? And you don't have to say Highland. You don't have to say Highland. It's okay.
No, Highland, man, I'm telling you, Highland's up there. Belleville and Highland have always been a couple of my favorites. I like the little bull rings. I don't like big tracks. I don't like half miles. I mean, I've run good at Eldora. I've won a couple big races there. I don't enjoy big racetracks. It's not that we can't go to them and run good. I don't enjoy it. I like the small stuff. The big racetracks, there's too much. Like I said earlier, the rule packages have got so crazy. These cars are too fast. They're too aero dependent. Like you can't race on the big tracks like I like to race. I like to get in there and root around and bump fenders and to really the driver is a way bigger part of the outcome of the race at places like Belleville and Highland, and that's one, honestly, probably my favorite racetrack in the country is Belleville. I really hope to God they get that track going again, and I've heard lots of rumors. I guess I don't know exactly where it stands, but that place is probably in my top 1 or 2 racetracks for sure.
Yeah, I mean, rumor is it's going to come back. They've got a bunch of funding. I think it's either a switch from being county owned to maybe city owned, or one or the other. But yeah, there's been some designs, some drawings put out there. So yeah, we're hoping that bull ring comes back too, because it's a fun 1-2 punch having weekly Belleville and then Highland on Saturday nights.
Yeah, for sure. And Tri-City too. They're Pontoon Beach there. They're always also one of my favorites. That place is really a driver's track. It's so unique. Both ends are different. You really gotta drive the hell out of that place. So you guys have a lot of tracks out in my area. Peevely's one of my favorites. Like you guys probably have within a 3-hour radius. You have 4 or 5 of my favorite racetracks. So that's why you guys see me a lot.
Well, maybe when the kids graduate, maybe there's a home for Domination race cars, a satellite office in the St. Louis region.
I can promise you, I'm not moving to Illinois. You may, if anybody watches any of my social media, I'm moving as far from that state as possible. But you may see me in Missouri. I've been trying to talk the wife into maybe a central or southern Missouri move. That's kind of, I enjoy that area out there. The racetracks out there, I'd be a lot closer to some of my favorite tracks too. So.
Well, we're happy that you at least come and visit, and then you get ready to leave.
Yeah, there's Illinois, New York, and California are 2 places you're never going to see this guy move to.
So, Rusty, what's a better feeling, you winning a race or having one of your customers beat you in a race?
Man, honestly, they're pretty similar. I probably one of my favorite races ever was when my stepson beat me. I threw everything I had on it and blew the decking out of it coming to the checkered flag, trying to pass him on the outside to win the thing. As much as I hate losing a race, I gave it all I had, and he come up with his first feature win. So I ran. I think I beat him to his car before he even got out of it. I parked and ran out on the front stretch before he could even get out of the car. So it's just as good of a feeling, man. I get just as much pleasure out of seeing my kids or my customers win, because I know how much time we've got involved in trying to make these cars good, and watching them succeed is just as good as me succeeding.
Yep. Well, Rusty, your car looked perfect on Saturday night, and you always have one of the sharpest designs out there on the track. It always stands out. Who does the design work for you? Kind of how did you come up maybe with that color scheme?
KBC Graphics is man, they have knocked it out of the ballpark on our last few race cars. I feel like I swear they get better and better and better every year. The cars are bright. I've always had bright cars. I want to stand out. Pink's always been my thing. I like to have a bright car. It sells T-shirts. The kids love it. You know what I mean? It's looking good and being bright is just as good, is just as important to get your sponsors noticed and get people to look at your program as running good. So KBC has really done us good the last few years. Honestly, the new gold scheme, I wasn't even sure I was going to like it at first. My car owner did that was all his doings. I didn't even know about it at first. They kind of surprised me at my race party with the wrap, and man, it's probably my favorite race car I've ever had. I love the thing. It turned out really good.
Yeah, it does look sharp. And your car owner was in Highland on Saturday night?
Yep, he was there.
Yeah, so that's cool. He got to see you win there. So yeah, it was great to see you pick up a win there. All right, we're gonna save the best for last. So the Darren Klein incident from last year. Let's rehash it a little bit. I think we're gonna have Darren on next week. So I was talking to Darren about having him on recently, and I think he's having a root canal today. So shout out to Darren. Hopefully you're doing all right after your root canal today. So but let's do, we got actually, you're on the intro video for the Highland Dirt podcast. So
I noticed that.
I'm gonna replay this without the sound, and we're gonna pause it as we get to the incident. But as I recall, during the feature, it was the first night of super late models at Highland, and you showed up during the feature, probably lap 3 or 4 of the feature. Darren threw a slide job on you and kind of took you out, spun you out, and sent you to the back, right?
Yeah, it was one of those deals. I was kind of exchanging slide jobs with Kloos, I believe it was, for the lead. And I wasn't. It's kind of my own fault for leaving the bottom open for Darren. I didn't realize he was there. I was trying to get a run on Kloos, and I messed up and swung it wide and left the door open for Darren to get a run on me. And instead of sliding the 6 car like I was planning on doing, Darren filled the hole. And when you're racing, when I'm racing with Darren and Bobby Pierce, and some of the good guys around these bull rings, like you know that the guy that's got the advantage is the guy out front. Like there's a lot of us that don't mess up too often. Like we're going to run on the ragged edge. And I think that was one of them deals where I think Darren just knew that was he's seen an opportunity he knew that if he didn't get ahead of me at that point, it was going to be a long race for him, and it was going to be tough for him to get around me. So you got to kind of take advantage of those situations. And I left the door open, and he didn't quite have the run that he thought he did, and parked it on my nose. And I did everything I could to keep from running into the back of him, and I ended up hitting him and spinning out and had to go to the tail. So
yeah, and then so Darren ended up finishing 3rd. So as he's pulling to the scales, what we're looking at on the screen right now, here comes Rusty Schlenk, came pulling into the scales and cut Darren off. And it was funny because our announcer goes, "Oh, wait a minute." And so describe what were you feeling at this moment? What made you get out and decide to walk across, like you said, his $500 carbon fiber hood?
Well, like I said, I'm old fashioned. I like to settle things with an old argument and an ass whooping. So you see so many people take it out on the racetrack, and I had the opportunity to run over him under caution and destroy a bunch of parts, and really ruin both of our nights and spend a bunch of money and fixing race cars like you see a lot of people do nowadays. That's just not me. I might wrinkle your quarter panel if I get mad at you under caution, but I'm not one about destroying 2 race cars and taking him out of, he still had a shot to win the race. I didn't want to. I don't want to be that guy that he took a race away from me, and 2 wrongs don't make a right. But I kind of seen my opportunity to handle it like men there after the races were over. I seen an opening to park in front of him and get out and have some words.
Yep, and thankfully we had, I think, Big John Corey was in the infield. He's the dad of 3 of our street stock girls that drive in the street stock division. He's a pretty big guy, and I think he came up and kind of maybe got in between and stopped things from escalating too bad. But probably had some choice words, and I came and talked to you afterwards. I remember, but you were in good spirits afterwards. I expected you to be a lot more upset, but you didn't seem to take it too bad.
No, like I said, it's one of them deals that I knew he messed up. He knew he messed up. If he would have handled it differently, I think we would have. I may have been in a different mood, but he's seen it in my perspective, which a lot of times when the same. If I would have made a bonehead move like that, I would have handled it the same way he did. He apologized. He said it was his fault. You can't punch a guy in the face when they admit they're wrong. So it was it was a racing deal. I let him know I was mad, and he admitted he was wrong, and we went on our merry way. I'm sure I'll be at the other end of that situation someday, and hopefully he handles it the same way.
That's great. No, it was a fun night. Again, you put on a show last Saturday night at Highland. That was a lot of fun. We're getting close to that hour. We're past that hour time limit. We're gonna kind of wrap things up here. Jacob, did you have any other questions for Rusty tonight?
I did. It is election year. Are we going to see a special wrap come election time, or are we just going to leave it be?
Well, I don't know. I got to work that out with the wrap company. I would definitely like to do something. My Trump car went over huge in 2020 there. Wait, I think that was it was no, that was 20. I think that's 2016 was that's a while ago. 2016 was the year we did the Trump wrap. I don't know. I don't know if you'll see anything or not. I would like to. That's going to be up to the wrap company. Unfortunately, I think last time they didn't want to be political. Some companies don't like to politicize their feelings, because obviously what this world brings nowadays. It'll hurt some feelings. So we'll see. If it's up to me, yeah, we'll have a badass race car. But I don't know. We'll have to see when the time comes.
Did you do you have? Well, I got one last quick question. Do you have any superstitions when it comes to racing?
Yeah, yes and no. My wife does. Oh man, if you eat peanuts in the pits around my wife, she'll come unglued. But I've always been one to kind of go against the grain. I've had green on my race cars. I'm not too superstitious. I just kind of go with the flow. But I'd be the one to race a green. I'd be the first one to race a green 13 and have some peanuts in the pits if I could, just to prove people wrong. But I gotta respect the wife's wishes. She's the superstitious one.
That's funny. Well, like I said, it's about time we wrap up this episode. Rusty, did you have a good time?
I enjoyed it, man. Thanks for having me on, and well, if you guys ever want to have me on again, I'll try to make some time for you. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us. Did you have anybody you want to give a shout out to, your sponsors? Maybe tell people where they can get your merchandise or contact you for Domination race cars?
Yeah, obviously, huge thanks to all my sponsors. My car owner, Buckeye Concrete Coatings, Tyler Bork. That's my car owner. He's really the one that, like I said, kind of keeps this deal going. So I got to give him a shout out. The merchandise you can find online. My wife handles all that, so you can either shoot her a message or I don't even know what the heck our website is. How do they teamdominationwear.com, she says, is where to get that. I build race cars. I let her handle the merchandise. So So buy some t-shirts. It'd be much appreciated. That's it's kind of what helps us keep going up and down the road. And the kids, my son and my stepson both have merch that they sell quite a bit of every year to do the same thing for them to kind of help fund their deals. So yeah, the more shirts we sell, the more likely you'll be to see us at a racetrack near you.
Yep. Where are you racing this weekend?
Well, depending on the weather, you may see us at Brownstown and Peevely. I'm not sure. That's kind of our backup plan. I'm supposed to go to Attica and Wayne County here local, but the weather's not looking real favorable for tomorrow morning. So if we get rained out tomorrow, I think we're going to head west, probably run Brownstown and Peevely.
That's great. Well, Rusty, thanks for joining us. We can't wait to see you again, putting on another show at Highland. And yep, we'll keep you in the routine. We'll keep you in there for another podcast later on down the road. So thanks a lot, Rusty.
Sounds good. I joined Darren next week, but I actually have a root canal next Thursday also. So that's not even a joke.
Are you serious? You got a root canal next Thursday?
Yep, I got a root canal next Thursday also. I don't know what the odds of that are, but
I think you probably gotta send Darren a text after this and check on him. Tell him, you're gonna be in the same boat.
I'll make sure I do that.
That's great. Well, I'd also like to thank my co-host for the Highland Dirt Podcast, Jacob Blumenstein. Jacob, tell people where they can find you during the day.
You can find me at Jansen Chevrolet in Germantown, Illinois. They're the sponsor of us doing this. They support us. And also, again, they have the Breeze lot and the Carmine lot. I can sell anything from our 3 stores.
Yep, and like he said, the Highland Dirt Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Jansen Auto Group. Hundreds of vehicles are available right now at gojansen.com with Jansen Ford of Breeze, Jansen Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Carmi, and Jansen Chevrolet in Germantown. They have just the vehicle you're looking for. You can search their entire inventory at gojansen.com and then get a hold of Jacob Blumenstein to get out there and buy the car. It's gojansen.com. Jansen Auto Group is proud to support local dirt track racing and world famous Highland Speedway. Well, guys, you know what that music means. Make sure you follow Highland Speedway and the Highland Dirt Podcast on all the socials, Facebook, YouTube, X, and TikTok. And next up at Highland Speedway, Modified, the Mars Modified Tour, April 20th, this Saturday at world famous Highland Speedway. You can download this episode where you find all your favorite podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review. And I'm Kurt Vonder, your host of the Highland Dirt Podcast. And remember, folks, whether it's Peevely, Brownstown, Tri-City, Belclair, Highland, Oakshade, or your home track, get out there and support your local dirt track, would you? We'll see you guys next week.